The coffee shop on Meridian was half empty at 3. A man with short graying hair sat alone by the window, nursing a black coffee. He glanced at his watch, then the door. When it opened, a younger man in a hoodie entered, scanning the room with a nervous energy.
You must be my buyer. I'm Brandon.
The older man gave a slight nod but didn't offer a name. He gestured to the empty chair.
I brought the ring. It's exactly like the photos.
He placed a vintage gold band on the table. The diamond caught the afternoon light. The man lifted it, turning it over and squinting at the inner band.
Can you tell me what's engraved inside the band?
It's just some old writing. Belonged to my grandma, I think.
The stranger didn't answer. He just stared, and the silence pressed down like a weight. Brandon felt the sweat bead on his forehead. 9 months earlier, Olivia Hart sat alone in a funeral home. The scent of lilies hung thick. Her mother Evelyn had died of a stroke, sudden and silent.
She could still hear her mother's voice. This ring was your father's promise to me. One day it'll be yours.
Days later, in the estate attorney's office, Margaret Harper unfolded the last will and testament.
To my daughter Olivia, I leave my engagement ring with all its history and the inscription you know well.
Olivia stared at the highlighted clause on the document. The engagement ring, her mother's most treasured possession, was now hers. After the service, Olivia pulled her aunt aside. She pressed the ring box into Linda's hands, her voice barely a whisper.
I'll keep it in my jewelry box, sweetheart. No one touches that but me.
It's just for a while, she thought, until I can bear to look at it without breaking.
Aunt Linda placed the ring on a velvet tray inside her antique jewelry box, beside a tangle of costume pieces and old brooches. It would wait there, a quiet heirloom, until the day Olivia was ready to wear it again. 3 weeks after the funeral, Brandon Lee pulled into his aunt's driveway unannounced. He made small talk, but his gaze kept snagging on the jewelry box across the room. Aunt Linda excused herself to the kitchen. The moment she was out of sight, Brandon's posture shifted.
She won't miss it. With all this clutter, one little ring is nothing.
He lifted the lid of the jewelry box, his fingers moving straight to the velvet tray. The diamond caught his eye, worth more than he could make in a month of hustling. He slipped the ring into his jacket pocket, then closed the box as if nothing had happened. When Aunt Linda returned with coffee, Brandon was already standing by the door, eager to leave. That night, he pulled the ring from his pocket and set it under a dim lamp.
$1,200, easy. Maybe more if I play it right.
Brandon opened Facebook Marketplace on his phone, the blue icon glowing in the dark room. He angled the ring under a desk lamp and snapped a single, careless photo. He typed a title, "Vintage Estate Ring, Must Sell." No mention of the stone, the year, or the inscription. He set the price at $1,200, a fraction of its true value.
Someone will bite. Quick cash, no questions.
He skipped the description box entirely. The less anyone knew, the better. His thumb hovered over the post button for a second, then pressed it. The listing went live with a soft ping. It was now public, searchable by anyone in the metro area. Within minutes, the post appeared among a sea of furniture, used bikes, and old jewelry. Brandon leaned back in his chair, a thin smile on his face. Now he just had to wait. 6 months after the funeral, Olivia finally felt ready. She drove to her aunt's house to bring her mother's ring home. But when she opened the jewelry box, the velvet tray sat empty. Her breath caught.
It was right there, Olivia. I swear I haven't touched it.
Brandon, he was here. That weasel.
Later that night, alone in her apartment, she scrolled through Facebook Marketplace with shaking fingers. And there it was. A blurry photo of her mother's ring, listed for $1,200.
That's it. That's Mom's ring.
The next morning, she was at Brandon's door. When he opened it, she thrust the phone into his face.
That? I bought it at a flea market last month. No idea it was yours.
The lie hung there, thin and infuriating. Olivia had her proof, but no confession. Olivia drove straight to her aunt's house. the marketplace screenshot burning on her phone. Linda met her at the door, already defensive.
Brandon wouldn't do this. He's had his troubles, but he's family.
Olivia thrust the phone closer. The listing was undeniable.
It could be anyone. That photo doesn't prove he stole it. Let it go, sweetheart, for the family.
For the family? She's protecting the thief while my mother's ring is for sale.
Linda's voice turned firm. This was about reputation now.
Don't go to the police, Olivia. Think of the shame it would bring. We'll handle it ourselves.
The room felt suffocating. Olivia's own aunt had chosen Brandon over her mother's memory.
I'm alone in this. Fine, I'll get it back myself.
She walked out without another word. The chasm between her and the last of her family had just cracked wide open. The following Monday, Olivia walked through the doors of the 14th District Police Station, her resolve like a stone in her chest. At the front desk, Officer Daniels took her statement, typing slowly while she described the ring, the will, and the marketplace listing.
We've got a task force looking into jewelry thefts lately. A detective's been flagging suspicious listings. I'll pass this along.
A task force? Maybe someone is actually watching.
Days bled into a week. Olivia checked her phone constantly, but no calls came. She refreshed the marketplace listing every morning. It was still there. Vintage estate ring must sell, $1,200, as if it were just another piece of junk. The ring could be sold at any moment. She felt it slipping away, her mother's last tangible gift.
They don't care. No one does. I'm going to lose it forever.
She stopped calling her aunt. The silence between them grew, a cold front settling over what was left of her family. On the 10th day, she opened the marketplace app and saw the price had been slashed to $900. Desperation flickered, then hardened into a dangerous idea. The idea crystallized. Pose as a buyer, Olivia opened Messenger and typed a simple message to the seller. "Is the ring still available?" She hit send before she could second guess. The reply came almost instantly. "Yeah, still for sale. You want to see it tomorrow?" Her heart hammered. She typed a meeting spot, the daily grind on Meridian, noon, and shut the phone. That evening, she told Marcus everything at their favorite coffee shop. He set his cup down very slowly.
Olivia, that's dangerous. What if he recognizes you? What if he's armed?
I don't care. That ring is all I have left of her. I'll take the risk.
Then I'm going with you. I'll wait in the car. You're not doing this alone.
Olivia swallowed her protest. The warmth of his hand was a small anchor against the storm ahead. Alone in her apartment, she stared at the ceiling until dawn. Tomorrow she would come face to face with the man who stole her mother's ring. At noon, Olivia stood across the street from the daily grind, her hood drawn tight. Marcus waited in the car around the corner. She spotted Brandon the moment he turned the corner. He didn't hesitate, just pushed through the coffee shop door. Inside, Brandon walked straight to a table where a man was already seated, a stranger, calm and still, like he'd been waiting for hours.
Who is he? I didn't bring anyone. This wasn't the plan.
The stranger produced the ring from his pocket and placed it on the table. Even through the glass, Olivia recognized the diamond's gleam. He lifted it, turning it in his fingers, studying the inside of the band like a man reading a secret.
Can you tell me what's engraved inside the band?
Brandon opened his mouth, then closed it. Nothing came out. Sweat glistened on his temple. The stranger set the ring down and just looked at him. The silence was heavier than any accusation.
He can't answer. That ring isn't his. It's never been his.
The stranger rose from his seat, slow and deliberate. He reached into his jacket and opened a detective shield.
Detective Andrew Cole, Major Crimes. You're under arrest for possession of stolen property.
Brandon tried to bolt, but Andrew's grip was iron. In one swift motion, cuffs clicked around his wrists. Olivia, seeing it through the window, shoved open the cafe door, her phone still recording.
That ring belongs to my mother. It's engraved 6/14/71 and JH, her wedding date and my father's initials.
Andrew looked from the ring to Olivia and gave a slow nod. He gestured toward the parking lot. Inside his unmarked sedan, he explained, the task force had been monitoring undervalued listings with inscriptions for months, connecting them to a larger ring of thieves. Olivia pressed a hand to her mouth, tears wetting her cheeks. She wasn't alone. Someone had been watching all along.
He knew. They were already building a case.
Andrew handed her a card. Detective Andrew Cole, Jewelry Theft Task Force. Your statement will be crucial. The ring remains in evidence for now, but once the case closes, it will be returned to you. The next morning, Olivia returned to the 14th District Station. This time, she was led past the lobby to a small interview room. Detective Andrew Cole sat across a steel table, a notepad open. A tape recorder whirred softly. Olivia gave a preliminary sworn statement, detailing the will, the missing ring, and the marketplace listing.
The engraving, can you confirm it again for the record?
June 14th, 1971, and the initials JH. My father's name was James.
Her voice held, but her fingers curled white against the table's edge.
To get a felony conviction, we'll need you to testify. It could get ugly with your family.
They'll never forgive me. But he stole from my mother's grave. I'll do it, whatever it takes.
She signed the statement, her signature a quiet declaration of war. The case file closed with a soft thud. 2 days later, Aunt Linda appeared at Olivia's apartment door, her face white with fury.
You got Brandon arrested? He's your blood. What kind of monster does that?
Olivia didn't flinch. She let the accusation land, then stepped aside to let her aunt in.
He made a mistake, Olivia. He's sorry. Drop the charges, please.
Sorry? He pocketed my mother's ring like spare change? There's no sorry deep enough. No, he stole the one thing Mom left me. He doesn't get a free pass.
You're destroying this family. Your mother would be ashamed.
Olivia felt the sting of those words, but it didn't bend her. Some betrayals couldn't be forgiven with silence. Linda's shoulders sagged. She turned and walked out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame.
Let her go. I made my choice. I'll see this through.
A week later, the county courthouse steps filled with pale morning light. Olivia adjusted her suit jacket, feeling the weight of what was coming. In the courtroom, Brandon stood at the defendant's table, head bowed. His lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. The prosecutor read the charges: felony theft of property valued over $5,000, false listing, receiving stolen property.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
But the evidence sat heavy: the listing screenshot, the sting recording, Olivia's sworn statement, and the engraving that only the true owner could know. When invited to speak, Olivia rose from the gallery. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled.
That ring was all I had left of my mother. He knew exactly what he was taking from me, and he sold it like a piece of scrap.
Brandon refused to meet her eyes. His lawyer passed a note to the prosecutor's desk. By recess, the plea deal was on the table: guilty to 1 felony count, full restitution, and sentencing left to the judge. Olivia caught Brandon's glance once before they led him away. There was no remorse there, only resentment, but it didn't matter anymore. A month later, the sentencing hearing convened in the same courtroom. Brandon shuffled to the defendant's table, wrists cuffed. His face was pale, jaw tight. Aunt Linda sat 3 rows back, not meeting anyone's eyes. The judge looked over her half-moon glasses. "Mr. Lee, you have pled guilty to 1 count of felony theft. Do you have anything to say?"
No, Your Honor.
The judge nodded, her voice flat. "The court takes into consideration the family breach, the deliberate targeting of a funeral heirloom, and your prior history. You are hereby sentenced to 18 months in state prison, suspended on condition of 2 years probation." She continued, 200 hours of community service, and full restitution of the ring's appraised value, $9,400 to be paid within 1 year. The gavel cracked down. It was over. Olivia sat motionless, a strange brew of relief and hollowness in her chest.
18 months suspended? He won't serve a day. But the humiliation, the public record, maybe that's justice too.
A week after sentencing, Brandon reported for community service at Edgewater Park. The orange vest hung on him like a sign. He jabbed a litter picker at a coffee cup, scowling, while a jogger slowed and stared. His supervisor pointed at a gum wrapper near his foot. Brandon bit his tongue and bent down.
Everyone's watching. This is better than jail, they said.
That evening, Olivia scrolled through a local social page and froze on a photo. The caption read, "Caught this guy doing community service. Guess he learned his lesson." The image showed Brandon in his vest, head down, a supervisor pointing at litter.
Part of me wanted to see him humiliated, but it doesn't feel like victory. He's still Mom's nephew. Seeing him like this just reminds me how broken everything is.
She turned off the screen and sat in the dark, the weight of it settling into her bones. On Thanksgiving, the dining table was set for 12. Olivia took her seat beside Marcus, the tension thick as the gravy. Aunt Linda rose, gripping the table edge. The room fell silent.
Brandon will not sit at this table tonight. Not after what he did to your mother's ring. He stole from the dead, and I won't shelter a thief.
She gestured at the empty chair in the corner, set with a single plate.
I was wrong to protect him. Olivia, you did the right thing. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you.
I never thought I'd hear those words. Not from her.
Linda crossed the room, her steps heavy. She pulled Olivia into a tight embrace, her shoulders shaking.
This doesn't fix everything, but maybe it's a start.
The rest of the family watched, some nodding, others looking away. The fracture was too deep to heal with one apology. But for the first time in months, Olivia felt the weight in her chest loosen just a fraction. Brandon was officially gone from the family. On a cold Tuesday morning, Olivia received the call she'd been waiting for. The evidence clerk said her mother's ring was cleared for release. She drove to the precinct in a daze. An officer led her to the evidence room and handed her a small, sealed box. Her fingers trembled as she signed the property receipt. The officer smiled and said, "Take care of it." Back in her apartment, Olivia placed the box on the kitchen table. She stared at it for a long moment before lifting the lid. Inside, on a clean square of cotton, rested her mother's engagement ring. The diamond caught the winter light.
I was so afraid I'd never hold this again. But you're here. You came home.
She tilted the ring to the light, reading the engraving inside the band, 6/14/71 and JH, her parents' promise, etched forever. A tear slid down her nose and landed on the table, but this time the tears weren't only for loss. She slipped the ring onto her finger. It settled into place like it had never been gone. Now wearing the ring, she stood beside her mother's photograph. The silence felt different, softer, less empty. 4 months later, the backyard of their new house glowed with string lights and laughter. Olivia stood at the center of a small celebration, her mother's ring warm on her finger. Marcus found her among the guests and took her hand, his thumb brushing over the setting. He looked nervous, happier than she'd seen him in a year.
I asked you once before, but with everything that happened, it didn't feel real until now. Olivia, will you marry me with this ring as our promise?
Yes, 1,000 times yes.
He slipped the ring off her finger just for the ceremony, then placed it back as if it were the first time. The diamond sparkled under the fairy lights. Aunt Linda stood nearby, dabbing at her eyes with a napkin. She raised her glass, and the crowd quieted.
To Evelyn, who was watching tonight, and to Olivia, who fought for what was hers and won.
Olivia touched the ring, feeling the engraved date beneath her thumb. She didn't need to look. The words were written on her heart.
Mom, this is yours as much as mine, and it's exactly where it belongs.
The party hummed with music and chatter, but for Olivia, the loudest sound was the steady beat of her own heart, finally at peace. As the last guests drifted away, Olivia slipped onto the balcony. The night was cool, the string lights blinking out one by one. She looked down at the ring on her finger, turning it so the diamond caught the faint glow from the house.
I wish you could see this, Mom. I'm so happy.
A soft step behind her. Marcus appeared, leaning against the doorframe.
You okay?
Just missing her. But it's a good missing, you know? She would have loved tonight.
He crossed to her and wrapped his arms around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder.
She's always with me now, right here.
They stood like that, watching the city lights below, the silence between them full and warm. The ring sparkled one final time as the moon broke through, a tiny, ancient light that had finally come home. In the quiet months that followed, Olivia never saw Brandon again. It was the outcome she had hoped for from the start. He moved to a different state. His felony record made finding steady work difficult. The family quietly erased his name from conversation. Aunt Linda packed up his old room, boxing his things without ceremony. The dust settled in the silence. Olivia's life expanded. She and Marcus traveled. She launched a small estate sale consulting business, and the ring stayed on her finger, constant as gravity.
Every time I look at it, I don't see his theft. I see my parents' promise, still unbroken.
She wore it to her wedding, the inscription pressed against her pulse. Brandon finished his community service and drifted into obscurity, a cautionary tale whispered at distant family reunions. But Olivia stopped telling that tale. The ring had become just a ring again, her ring, unremarkable and radiant. Some wounds don't vanish, they become part of the skin, but she had learned to live without the anger. Every morning, the diamond caught the light as she made coffee, a quiet proof that some things stolen can be reclaimed. She visited her mother's grave often, not out of duty but need. The ring was always there, pressed against the cool granite.
Mom, the ring is safe. I'm married now. I tell Marcus about you every day. Sometimes I swear I feel your hand over mine when I touch the band.
The inscription, now worn smooth by her thumb, had become a prayer she carried without speaking.
One day, if I have a daughter, this will be hers. Your promise will keep going.
The ring that had been stolen, listed and recovered, was no longer a wound, it was a root. On a bright spring afternoon, she cleaned the grave with a small brush, her diamonds scattering light across the headstone.
Thank you for leaving me this. I finally understand.
She stood, brushing grass from her knees, and looked down at her hand. The ring glowed like a second heart. Some heirlooms survive theft, time, and grief. This one had, and it would outlast them all. On her wedding day, Olivia stood in front of a full-length mirror, the ring catching the morning light. She smiled at her reflection, not just at the dress, but at the small circle of gold that had traveled so far. Marcus entered, straightening his tie. He saw her hand and paused.
It looks right, doesn't it? Like it was always meant to be.
It does. She's here. I know she is.
The ceremony passed in a blur of white flowers and whispered vows, the ring never leaving her finger. At the reception, she twirled on the dance floor, the diamond winking under the chandelier. Later, alone in the quiet, she held her hand up to the window. The inscription glowed 6/14/71 and JH. Her parents' promise fulfilled. A thief could not break it. She closed her eyes, and the ring seemed to hold all the love she had ever known.